Tonight's headlines: Saddam's purported audio threat against U.S. troops. Another American dies as the attacks go on. Close call for a Supreme Court justice. Also tonight, America celebrates 227 years of freedom. Police across the nation are out to stop drunken drivers from going forth. And are you taking your life in your hands when you get on a roller coaster?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
And good evening. Dan is off this 4th of July. I'm John Roberts. Iraqis who fear Saddam Hussein might someday return have new reason to believe he is still alive and still a threat. An audio recording has surfaced, and on it is a voice that sounds very much like Saddam. The CIA is analyzing the sound to determine if it actually is Saddam, heard calling on Iraqis to resist U.S. forces and warning of new attacks. CBS News correspondent Mark Phillips has more about the tape, what's on it, and what it may mean if it is authentic.
It was a voice recording purported to be made by Saddam 3 weeks ago and aired today on the Arab news channel Al Jazeera. And while U.S. intelligence is reserving judgment on whether the voice on the tape really is Saddam, it does sound like him. It also sounds like he hasn't given up the fight. I am among you and in your ranks, the voice on the tape says, apparently confirming the widespread view in Iraq that Saddam is not only still alive, but that he is at least indirectly behind the continuing attacks on American troops. Saddam hasn't been seen since this footage of him, or someone like him, was released by the regime in the closing stages of the war. But the point of today's tape is that the regime, while no longer in power, is also not dead. An organized resistance movement the tape proudly announces has been formed. I relay to you good news, the voice says. Jihad or holy war cells and brigades have been formed. If the claim is true, it contradicts the Pentagon view that the attacks have been sporadic and not part of a coordinated campaign. Since the war, several old videos of Saddam and his family have emerged. Each has reinforced the image of a ruler who lived so well while in power, but whose people, the current administrator of Iraq has found, still live in fear of him to this day.
It intimidates people into saying we don't want to cooperate because we're afraid the Baathists may come back.
That fear, we discovered recently in the Iraqi capital, is still very much on people's minds. Whether or not Saddam himself still walks these streets, his specter does, and that in itself is both a political and a military fact. Today's tape is yet another indication that the clock is still ticking on the Saddam era of Iraqi history. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
For U.S. troops in Iraq, every tick of that clock represents another moment of risk, and today was no exception. One soldier was killed and nearly 20 were wounded in various attacks. Correspondent Elizabeth Palmer reports from Baghdad that while defending their own lives, Americans are also trying to change the lives of Iraqis weary of war.
Hey, keep a driver.
It's been a violent week, with on average 12 to 15 attacks against American troops across the country every day. In the past 24 hours, a U.S. soldier guarding the Iraqi museum overnight was shot dead. North of Baghdad, in the town of Balad, 16 U.S. soldiers were wounded in a mortar attack on their base. Hours later, in a fierce shootout following an ambush, American soldiers killed 11 Iraqis. And in the capital this morning, a crude bomb aimed at a Humvee injured one American soldier. As U.S. combat troops work to secure Iraq's cities and towns with guns and with vigilance, other soldiers are working behind the scenes.